What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Roots. So I'm going to review a mixtape by Nicki Minaj. Basically this project is called Pink Friday, The Lost Tape, and it came out in the late summer / fall of 2012. Now the thing about this particular product here is just the fact that this was after Nicki Minaj's initial run of mixtapes, so this is more of an unofficial type project, kind of similar to like the Barbie World mixtape that I reviewed not too long ago. But the pitch behind it is a lot of these kind of unauthorized and unofficial type mixtapes have a lot of biting type styles. This was one that was on Dat Piff back in the day, so it's a good pitch to kind of get that in particular. Some of these type ones are just getting leftovers and scraps of Nicki Minaj type songs that were probably for like the cut. I looked around like the Nicki Minaj wiki, and it had said that these songs were kind of comprised around between 2007 to about 2010. I don't think this was stuff that she worked on in like 2011, early 2012 when she was working on Roman Reloaded, but I think within the pitch behind it, some of these were probably just throughout like the course. The original Pink Friday came out in November 2010, so it's just within the pitch that there were probably a bunch of songs that were recorded around that particular time, because I do feel like some of these type vibes, from what I gathered from it, this doesn't feel like as much from like Playtime Is Over era from 2007, at least what I was able to kind of somewhat detect about it. It kind of felt, I mean, I don't know as much full bound about Sucker Free just yet and Beam Me Up Scotty, but just within the pitch, I feel like the composition of some of these, there's some ones on here. One in particular, the Nicki Minaj wiki did denote, was the fact that Make a Baby was like a leftover from Pink Friday, some of those type of ones, but I definitely feel like songs like Zone In, I Love My Range Rover, and Put It On You, I feel like other leftovers from Pink Friday days, probably 2010 pitches like that. They just have a lot of fizzy pop rap type appeals, pretty similar to like Super Bass and Your Love and some of those type of songs, and Right Through Me. It's that typical same kind of pink fluff kind of canter about that particular album. And I'd probably say, I don't know if I said I Love My Range Rover, but definitely that one. And I'd probably say like at least those particular songs are kind of some context about that. I feel like maybe Letter to Lil Wayne might be from like Sucker Free, because that's pretty similar to like the mid-late 2000s Lil Wayne dedication days. There's just some ones, I'll probably denote some of these on here, but there's just a good pitch to kind of get like, it's definitely a pretty vicious and overall quality project that just has the concept of having a lot of Nicki leftovers that just feel like they probably should have been on projects. Just some of her scrap songs, it's interesting to have the concept that some of her scrap songs are as good as some of the songs that she puts out on albums. So this is a good type fare. Definitely a mixtape you want to lap up here just in the pitch behind it. Seems a little bit trickier to find nowadays. It's at least on SoundCloud, so I'm not going to refer back as much to this mixtape. Across the course of this review, I'm not going to refer back as much to the songs just because the pitch, I'd have to listen to the 30-second ads as far as those pitches going to happen. You can only listen to so many before it makes you do that. Sometimes you have to listen to two 30-second ads, so it's just within the pitch. I'm just going to try to go off this from memory. There's 11 songs on here. Out of those 11, I wound up recommending 10, so the only song I don't recommend in any fashion is just the song 11, which is the Who Run This acapella, which basically the pitch behind that, the reason behind is I just am not too commonly a fan of acapella type verses. I prefer there to be like productions on their pitches like that, just kind of the standard type fare, but that's the only real song. So this mixtape gets a 10 out of 10 just to be able to say within that pitch. Some good type fares to be able to have a lot of these tunes on here just in the aspects. So yeah, all of these basically just to go in, and some of these type ones, like I was saying, there's not really a single out this project considering that this was unofficial, just within the flair. I mean, at least the Barbie World mixtape from early 2010 had a single, one of those charting songs that I think it was Girlfriend that particularly was a Nicki Minaj charting song and just didn't wind up on an album, but it's just within the pitch that I would have to say. I'm just going to probably refer to Make a Baby as like the single, considering that that was like a Pink Friday leftover that just got scrapped, at least the full-blown one that has the most denotation about it, I'd say. So I'll just talk about Make a Baby within the aspect as if that's a single. Basically, Make a Baby is like a woozy kind of slow dance, kind of Your Love song type ambience about this one in particular. The single Your Love from the summer 2010, fall 2010 pitches like that. It's like some good radio appeal for like a scrap song, I'd say about this one. So it just basically feels same sort of fluff like I was talking about from Nicki Minaj, just within those pop rap vibes. And the thing about this particular mixtape is just the fact that it has a lot of pop rap type appeals on here, just within the pitch behind it. It's the aspect that a lot of this is pretty ready to go. This is not just like scrappy, more underground, just kind of not above surface type tunes. A lot of these feel like songs on the right day. If you play this around folks, they might just think that this is like a Nicki Minaj radio song because these songs have so much appeal. I mean, in some cases, you might be able to catch in certain senses that it feels a little bit rougher. Obviously, no thinking that this is just like Super Bass or one of those type of songs, but it's just within the pitch, or Starships. But actually some of these ones do kind of compete with some of those in terms of like having the relative kind of just snap of that, and it's definitely pretty commercial for like an unofficial mixtape. But I'd say it's a good type tone. But some more, another one that's like that would be Zone In. This like a fizzy kind of marinating like a dance club, I'd say. Just some basic ambience, not as feisty, I'd say about this one. And really, I'd have to say probably there are some ones on here that have that particular type tone, like I Get Crazy and Here and There, Girl You Bad, but within the pitch, some of these are just more ambient type ones, good type fare for some of that, just kind of similar to Super Bassist within like a more kind of breeze and just hang out at like the bartend type situations, pitch like that, at boost pitch, some of that type fare. Kind of good song to mellow out. Zonin's a good song to mellow out, sip slow, kind of gel a bit, good joke to kind of sink in and run these pitches as far as that fare can happen. Just what I mean by that would be these would be some good moments to sink in a good joke or two as far as those fares going to happen, get a good story going with like some good joke snap just from the pitch behind a good type fare for that for gelling as far as those pitches can happen. Sip a good drink pretty slow as far as those fares going to happen. Good type fare for that. Put It On You is another nice one. Now this is a relatively short song on here, but it continues. Like I feel like at least the first four songs, the first songs 2 through 5 are more like the Pink Friday era, I'd have to say. I'm not really sure as to where Here and There, Girl You Bad was. I think maybe that would be Beam Me Up, Scotty, I'd have to say, but it's just within the pitch. Put It On You is like a minute type song. It's a real quick verse and just relative. It's kind of bubbly pop rap, just appeal about it. It's like a typical kind of early 2010s pop rap dredge kind of get here. Just a scrappy kind of Pink Friday vibes about this one. Just like a rougher version of a song like Super Bass, something like that. Is that sort of appeal. This one has a little bit of like that just kind of evening dredge about it. Just a song you'd listen to if you're listening to Pink Friday, some of those type songs for more makeshift type fare, like 4:35 p.m. Just the embrace that just got done with tasks, just the concept of just wrapping things up and switching to like figuring out just maybe going to a dance club or like karaoke bar or something like that. It's a good type song. Just within the relative, I mean, it makes me question what the full blown song of this would have been. I would have liked to have heard that full song within the pitch, but it's just a nice snippet to kind of get within that tone of like a good appetizer or disc. Good song to get jazzed up and hype as far as those pitch can happen. So some good type ones there. Love Me is a nice one as well. This one reminds me of Neo and Mary J. Blige, some of that type fare from like the mid late 2000s, like a song by Mary J. Blige, like I forget the name of that song, but one of those type ones, like the lead single off of her 2005 album, some of that type fare. I want to say it's Without You, maybe something like that. Don't remember, but this reminds of like Neo from 2006. Some of those type songs, just gussied up kind of 90s R&B vibe. I had to say Mariah Carey's another one that kind of has those particular type vibes. Just some independent kind of step out, good club hop to kind of have within that pitch. Just those type vibes when you think of like when you think of the independent song by Neo off of his 2008 album, or when you think of like the Jamie Foxx song Miss Independent Part 2 off of his particular album. Just some of that particular kind of is more spruced up type fare, gussied up in a sense, just typical late 2000s 90s type R&B type vibes. Good type pitch, kind of get Nicki Minaj one of those type songs, and she kind of has that format as well, considering that she's from New York. Alicia Keys, Mary J. Blige would do some of those type concepts. Good type fare for that. Real nice surprise highlight on here would be Bring It Back. This is a real surprising type one, just in the pitch behind it was not. Just kind of had a different aspect about it. It's like an Eastern kind of nice venue jive to kind of get here. Nice dance pop type song kind of get, and like a more just Eastern around the hemisphere type, just Eastern around the hemisphere type vibes as far as those pitch can happen. This is like some Chinese food type music, I had to say, not to have it. I'm not trying to be stereotype or anything within that pitch, but it just reminds something you'd have more just Eastern type vibes, places around like the Eastern Hemisphere pitches like that. So it's like a feeling exotic kind of outing song kind of get here, and this is like some nice song flavor to have within that pitch. Just reminds me of like a song. The production on this song reminds like out of a Street Fighter video game. Some of those type pitches just within the flair behind it. Good type flair for that. Just good type concepts there. Nice real type one kind of get. It's like the song flavor of this particular one. Letter to Lil Wayne is a nice one as well. It's like a vintage kind of dramatic mid 2000s mixtape soul to kind of get here. I would definitely feel like just a throwback to like the dedication vibes from like 2005, 2006, late 2000s. Some of that type fare is a nice hitter. Do you like the concept of Nicki Minaj just having a letter to Lil Wayne as far as those fares going to happen? Good type pitch kind of get that one. Just ripped out a DJ Drama Don Cannon type fare as far as that particular kind of goes. I Got Next is a nice one as well. If you like the song Love Me, but you want it with a little bit more snap and a little bit more kind of brushiness and just kind of more club hop type sense, that would be I Got Next. That would be I Got Next. It's like a nice minty kind of East Coast big city hopper to kind of get here. It just reminds definitely of Alicia Keys, Mary J. Blige once again. It's like some frou-frou kind of shopping type music to kind of have in a big city type sense, and it's a good taste of glamour within the pitch behind it. This is one of those songs you take your girl out for shopping. Some of those type fares is kind of on the town, pitches like that, bright city lights, night type glamour, Friday night type music, and a more spend money type senses. Good type tone for that. Good type appeals. Real nice gem on here in terms of some club craziness that's more kind of ferocious would be I Get Crazy. It's like a minimalist kind of NY style kind of club hit to kind of get like Touch It by Busta Rhymes, one of those type ones. There was like one I reviewed off of the Jadakiss project not too long ago. I forget what it's called, but it was by Swizz Beatz off of his 2007 album, pitches like that. But it also reminds of like a more jazzy kind of a Millie song by Lil Wayne, just a little bit more in like the NY flavor of it, I'd have to say, and it's like a a dance club shred to kind of get here. The thing about it is Lil Wayne is actually on this song. Good type pitch kind of get him on some of that type fare. Just reminds me of like that standard kind of NY just type turn up that you get like a song like Chicken Noodle Soup, just within that sort of roundabout type stuff that kind of goes along with that pitch. Good type fare for that. I love My Range Rover is a nice one as well. It's like a jazzy kind of pop rap kind of EDM lick, kind of bubbly step out to kind of get here. I love My Range Rover is like a jazzy kind of pop rap EDM lick type song to kind of get within that tone. There's like some bubbly kind of step out and initial kind of social joshing to kind of have within that aspect that I'd say, and it's like some good night pep. It's kind of the concept behind it. Just one of those type ones. This one definitely feels like a Pink Friday leftover, some of that type fare, just like that same sort of night that you would get. It feels like Young Money type vibes from like their 2009 album, sort of pitches like that kind of happen. It feels like a song like Bedrock, feels like a song feels like a song like Right Through Me, just more oriented towards the dance club as far as those pitches can happen, just within the tone behind it. It's typical kind of early 2010s Young Money type flair within that particular pitch. Standard Pink Friday type vibes that Nicki Minaj kind of fleshed out within that tone. So yeah, there's a bunch of these on here just to be able to say, just like I was saying. I don't know if I talked about I Love My Range Rover before, but just to get that one again if I didn't. So, and then Here and There, Girl You Bad is a nice bop to kind of get here. Now this is one that reminds me of like Playtime Is Over. I'd have to say it's like a moist kind of dance club summer hop to kind of get within that tone of it. So this has like a tropic vibe and like a city flavor. I'd have to say about this one. It's basically like a New York song in like the summertime, just a pitch behind having like some of that island flair. It's like Malibu rum pitch like that, mojito, some of that type goodness, but just in a more kind of big city type setting. It's like a basic buzz joint to kind of get here. Just kind of the concept of like a Nicki Minaj promo single, something like that. Probably something seems like she would have done back in like the Sucker Free or Playtime Is Over days, as far as those fairs gonna have a nice gem to kind of get. It was a little bit rougher compared to some of these. I feel like there's more like I like this song within the pitch behind it, but it feels like there's ones that have a little bit this crisper kind of composition within like the overall delivery behind it. But for the most part, I can't actually find that terribly many songs. I feel like most of these probably stem from like the 2009 type days, just within the pitch behind it, with the exception of probably Here and There, Girl You Bad, and Letter to Lil Wayne. I'd say most of these, maybe I Get Crazy is one of those type ones, but it's just within the pitch as far as saying that that one feels more maybe like the Beam Me Up Scotty days that I'd say within the pitch. But most of these just kind of have the concept of, I'd probably say Bring It Back was probably one that was probably 2009 or 2010 as well. So it's just within the pitch. Most of these are Pink Friday with a couple of just ones from Playtime Is Over, Beam Me Up Scotty, some of those type fairs I'd say. It's just from the pitch. But yeah, this mixtape gets a 10 out of 10. Just what I'd say, just like the impact of it, just the overall draw for an unofficial product. It really hits the nail on the head. These leftover songs have some good pitch behind them. Definitely should be promoted as an official product, just to be able to say that just within the flair as far as that particular kind of goes. Just the aspect of having a lot of these just within the particular, so within the aspect of having a lot of these just as the particular how well it nails it, just I'd say amongst that. So I'd say the social score I'll probably give, I don't know, that's kind of a trickier, tougher one to kind of think within that. I'd probably say maybe the social score would get either like a 9.5. I don't know if it would get like a full blown 10 out of 10. Probably half the reasons just because this mixtape is a little bit trickier to find in terms like a download just in the pitch. I mean, Nicki Minaj is heralded and widespread enough to be able to say that it's worth it. A lot of these do have that pop rap type appeal. There are some buzz songs on here. It feels like some of these could be singles just within the pitch. It has at least the fluff about it. A lot of good aspects. Some R&B type vibes like Mariah Carey and Mary J. Blige, some of those type folks. Some mixtape soul, some of those type pitches on here. Some good pop rap type appeals. Just feel like super bass and Your Love type leftovers as far as the pitch can have. So I'd probably say maybe just like a 9.75 just within the pitch as far as that particular one goes. Just the aspect of it just being a little bit trickier to find just within the tone behind it, just within the flair. I mean, it has the social degree about it. It's just kind of the concept of just being able to find it and just having like the commonplace about it. That's really about the only tone, but I just look at it within the impact. For the most part, it nails these particular styles rather well. So I just say in terms of the future, like Nicki Minaj was working on, it's December 2024 right now, but Nicki Minaj was working on Pink Friday 3. Then it was going to be Pink Friday 2, the hiatus. So don't really know as to full blown what's happening within that conduct. Just what I'd say, it's interesting to see what Nicki Minaj is going to have happen just in the tone. Might get another Nicki Minaj project. Not really sure at this particular point. It's just kind of a question mark as far as these particular stages going to happen. But there are plenty more of these Nicki Minaj unofficial tapes that basically, if they're quality like this one in the Barbie World mixtape, I would definitely see it. If they're quality ones like the Barbie World one and this particular one, I'd say they're pretty vicious in like the overall pitch as far as saying that they're probably worth the investment as much as her official mixtapes and her albums are. So it's just within the pitch. Definitely lap this up if you can find it, but it has some gems on here. Definitely worth the conduct of it.